If you want to learn how to grow your business sales online or in person using stage selling secrets, tune in, because this is a live interview I shot with Myron Golden from Stage Selling Secrets. Enjoy. Deep. So my question next for you is, how have you leveraged sales and stage selling in growing your business as an entrepreneur?
Okay, so I'm gonna give some people some amazing advice right now. Like, this is gonna be like game changer. If you like, whether or not you ever read another book, which you should, we should always be learning. Whether or not you ever go to another seminar, whether or not you ever listen to another podcast episodes, Femi's or mine, or anybody else's, whether or not you ever hire a coach or not, this will change your life if you will do it. And that is, the first thing that you should do to scale your business through selling and stage selling is, after learning how to sell, which I already talked about that, so I'm not going to talk about that, raise your prices. If you are like most entrepreneurs, you are selling your product, service, coaching, whatever, way too low. And when I think about that, when I think about how when I started in the seminar business at my training company in August of 2003, I remember my first offer was $147. And I was like, man, I hope these people buy this, right? And now, my low end offer is 55 grand. My high end offer is $1 million, right? And so when I say raise your prices, like my low end high ticket offer is $55,000. I've got my book, which you can get for free, and I've got a little $1,000 course out there. If you can find it, you can buy it. But the stuff that I put energy into selling on the low end is 55 grand, and I've got one for 155 grand, and I've got one for $1 million, right? And so I'm not sharing that with you for any other reason than to say most businesses underprice their product, services, and the value that they bring into the marketplace. And if you'd like me to, when I'm done with the second thing that I think people should do is, I'll tell you why I believe people underprice what they sell. Okay, so that's the first thing. Raise your prices. You're selling something right now for $3,000. Sell it for $5,000, because there's no difference between $5,000 and $3,000 to the people you're selling to. And if you're selling it for $5,000, you might as well just go ahead and sell it for $8,000. And since there's no difference between 8 and 10, you might as well just go ahead and sell it for 10.
Wow.
Now, I shared this in one of Russell Brunson's inner circle meetings one time, when there was a guy in there. He's late 20s, early 30s. And I know you would know who he is if I mentioned him. He was selling a program for $4,000, and he told us what he put in. I said, dude, why are you selling that for $4,000? Well, I'll tell you who it is. Alex Hormozi. And I know you know who Hormozi is, right? Jim Launch Secrets, right?
Yeah.
In fact, his book is right here. It's one of my favorite marketing books of all times. Jim
Mine's
Launch.
right here too. Mine's over here. Don't worry.
I love this guy. Love this guy. He's one of the best salesmen. He's one of the best sales and marketing people I've ever met. And when it comes to anybody who's better than him, I don't know. Maybe his wife, Layla. They're mind blowing, right? So he's selling this thing for $4,000. I'm like, dude, why would you sell it for $4,000? He said, well, because, $4,000, I said, dude, he said, how much should I sell it for? I said, well, worst case scenario, 6, but there's really no difference between 6 and 8. So you might as well sell it for 8. And then if you're going to sell it for 8, you might as well sell it for 10, right? Because there's no difference between 8 and 10. So he raised his price to 10, and more people started buying it.
Wow.
Right? And now that same thing that he used to sell for $4,000, last time I talked to him, I haven't talked to him lately. And by the way, he's built a business that's done over $100 million in sales since then. Right? Last time I talked to him, he was selling it for 40. And then he had another program on top of that he would sell them for 90.
Jeez.
Right? But most people, when they think about selling something for that high price, they're like, nobody's going to buy it. I get why they would buy it from Alex for that much money, but I don't really get why they would buy it from me. I understand why they would buy something from Myron for $55,000 or $1 million, but I don't understand why they would buy it from me. I understand why they buy something from Russell for blah, blah, blah. And they tell themselves all these stories in their head that keep them from creating the stories that would cause their customers to buy a premium product from them, right?
That's big.
So, so, so that's one thing so raise your prices, and then stop selling in onesies. Like, I don't stop selling in onesies, but like stop selling just one-on-one and start selling one-on-many. So you can sell one-on-many on a webinar, you can sell one-on-many on a podcast, you can sell one-on-many on a television show, one-on-many on a radio show, one-on-many through an infomercial. So figure out as many ways as you can to sell one-to-many. So when you raise your prices and sell one-to-many, what you're doing is you're multiplying the two greatest things that can impact the scale of your business. And that is, most people, so I'm not going to go into great detail on this, but I do want to give you this. There are four different business models, right? There's what I call the entrepreneur business model, right? And a entrepreneur business model is LT times LV equals entrepreneur. LT stands for, I said LT, I'll just keep it at LT, but it's really LP times LV equals entrepreneur. What's LP? LP is low profit. LV is low volume. So low profit times low volume equals entrepreneur.
Yep.
Right? Then the next, that's entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is HP times LV, high profit times low volume. And a lot of people who are making six figures, they have a product that makes them high profit. Like they may have $1,000 course that costs them $100 to fulfill. They're making 10 times markup. So they've got high profit, but they're selling low volume. They're only selling maybe 8 to 10 of those a month. And so that's low volume, right? So high profit times low volume equals entrepreneur. LP times HV equals Waltrepreneur. LP means low profit times high volume, which is HV. Low profit times high volume equals Waltrepreneur. Now, why did I call that a Waltrepreneur? Because Sam Walton was the first person to master this business model.
Yep.
And with the Waltrepreneur business model, and I think he deserves to have it named after him, because when he established that business model, when he died, he was 3 times richer than Bill Gates.
Wow.
He was so rich. Like, he was so rich when he died, he divided his wealth up between his wife and children. And Bill Gates became the #1 wealthiest person in the world, no longer Sam Walton. Bill Gates became #1, but Sam Walton's wife and children became the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th wealthiest people in the world. Wow. That's how rich he was. Wow. Like, when he died, split up his wealth between his heirs, they became like all tied for 2nd place for the 2nd richest person in the world.
Wow.
Right? So that's kind of mind-blowing, right? And that's the Waltrepreneur. So what's the modern day Waltrepreneur? Well, the modern day Waltrepreneur is Jeff Bezos, right?
Yep.
But also all of the people who do e-commerce businesses where they sell physical products and they make a little bit of profit, but they sell maybe 100,000 units a month. Or like my good friend Trey Llewellyn, and Trey did, I think, some ridiculous number, something like $26 million worth of e-commerce sales with a flashlight funnel.
Wow.
Like in 6 weeks, right? That's low profit, high volume.
Yep.
Well, low profit, high volume, that's Waltrepreneur. But if you want wealthrepreneurism, like you want to become, like, take a page out of Apple's playbook. Apple Computers, well, it used to be called Apple Computers. Now it's called Apple Inc., right? So yep. Apple is the first company in the history of the world to become a $2 trillion market cap.
Wow. They
became a $1 trillion market cap in 2019. A year later, they became a $2 trillion market cap. Their market capitalization, the value of their company, doubled in 1 year. It was already the highest market cap and then doubled in a year. Wow. So how did they do that? They did that with this. HP times HV. What's that? High profit times high volume. Now, if the most profitable company in the world uses the Wealthtrepreneur business model, high profit, like, okay, here's what's funny. I'm recording on Mixcam this interview on my phone, right?
Yep.
So I can take clips of it and use it for Instagram and also use it for Facebook ads, right? So this phone that I'm using right now, my iPhone 11 Max Plus triple intergalactic, whatever they call it, right? That phone I paid $1,400 for.
Yep.
Right? But I also have my iPhone 10 maybe, iPhone 10, I also have an iPhone 8. I also have an iPhone 6.
Mm.
So I have, and that's just the last 3 or 4 years of iterations of iPhones, right?
Yeah.
So that I've got downstairs in my kitchen, my first Mac Pro that I bought in 2006, and I paid $8,000 for it.
Wow.
Right? I'm going to show you something so powerful, right? I've got my MacBook Pro that I'm using right here on my desk. I've got another MacBook Pro over there on the floor. I've got another MacBook Pro in my bedroom. I've got an iPad. I've had 3 iPads. I've got an iPad Pro. My wife has an iPad Pro. My wife has an Apple Pencil. I have an Apple Pencil.
Wow.
Right? So, and not to mention, back in the day, there was a time when I used to buy a MacBook Pro computer for the people who joined my high ticket mastermind.
Wow.
I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on Apple products. I have one customer, hundreds of thousands of dollars on Apple products. Why? How did Apple build such a crazy, amazing brand that can like go from $1 trillion to $2 trillion in market capitalization in 1 year? How did they do it? Well, they did it. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
With a stage presentation. The Apple Developer Conference.
Yep.
So Apple will do a seminar. They'll do a live event. They will sell you on buying their next new thing that's coming out. I remember when they came out with the iPhone the first year, he said, Steve Jobs, his presentations are always simple.
Yep.
And they're always powerful. And you can't forget them. The one, like when the first iPhone came out, it came out in the Apple Developer Conference, I think was March or April of 2007. The phone came out in June of 2007. And he kept saying the same thing. It's a phone. It's a browser. It's a music player. It's a phone. It's a browser. It's a music player. It's a phone. It's a browser. It's a music player. It's a phone. It's a browser. It's a music player. It's a phone. It's a browser. It's a music player. And we could have turned it, it's a phone. It's a browser. It's a music player. It's a phone. Browser. You know, we could have turned it into a song, right?
Mm.
And then I remember when they came out with the MacBook Air. And it's like, it's as thin as a pencil.
Hmm.
It was always and they would hold up a pencil and they would hide the MacBook Air behind the pen. It's as thin as a pencil. And so he would always come up with this messaging and they would present it to thousands of people live and millions of people on a broadcast.
Hmm.
And then he would tell them when they could go buy it. But he would never let them buy it then because he was building anticipation. And then when it came out, you have a line around the store. So if the guy who was smart enough to take over the music industry, the computer industry, the phone industry, the movie industry, if he was smart enough to take over those industries, computer, music, phone, and movie industry, and become the world's largest market cap company from a company that was on the verge of bankruptcy when he came back and took it over again. If he's smart enough to figure that out, and he figured out the way to build this company is with a live event. If you can build a computer company, a phone company, a music company, a movie company through a live event, and take your company to a multi-million-dollar market cap with HV times HP, if you don't take that page from Apple's playbook, you're not serious about creating wealth anyway.
And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this awesome interview. Definitely feel free to subscribe, comment any questions below, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Congrats on your breakthrough.